What's up, design family, and welcome back to another episode of Fittdesign TV. On today's episode, I'm going to be running you through how I fit 4 different types of men's t-shirt fits. We're going to look at compression fits, we're going to look at an athletic fit, we're going to look at a relaxed cut, and we're going to look at an oversized cut. So this tutorial, I'm literally going to take you through step by step how I come up with the measurements. And what differences in measurements are there between a compression fit, an athletic fit, an oversized fit, or relaxed fit? That way, when you're going to create your next fit, you have an idea of, okay, if I want to achieve this fit, these are the types of measurements I'm going to go for. I'm literally sharing my screen with you, and I'm going to take you through actual examples of different clients that we've worked with in the past and show you reference images so that you have an exact reference on how I come up with these fits. So without further ado, let's get right into the episode. Over here, I have my 4 key fits. So in general, what we need to understand is when I reference fits, here I'm using Adobe Illustrator. All of these fits were created using a software called Rhinoceros 3D, which is a CAD-based software. These are not sewing patterns. These are sort of like technical flats that have expanded key points of measurements. And we use these in order to create these sewing patterns that eventually end up with the garments themselves. So if you've ever been confused on how to achieve a specific fit, how to move from one fit to the other fit, this is the episode for you. And I'm going to be working off of all 4 fits being in a size medium because that's what I use in my studio to be able to keep my fits consistent. So I'm testing a compression shirt on a size medium person, as well as a athletic shirt on a size medium person. That way I can have consistency across the range. You can see here with our compression fit, we have this Gymshark reference, and you have the compression fit right here. You see here with our athletic fit, which is one step up in terms of how fitted it is. It's basically less fitted than a compression fit. And this is sort of the reference image on here, which I think is a very good reference image. And then we have a relaxed cut on here, which is one step above in terms of how relaxed it is from an athletic fit, and that's the measurement right here, size medium again. And then finally we have an oversized fit, which you can see the reference image on the right. And let's get right into the episode to kind of outline how these measurements scale up, going from the most fitted to the least fitted. So if you want to create a compression fit, this is going to be the direction for you. So let's try to understand here what we are looking at. Typically with a compression fit, what you'll notice in terms of the drastic adjustments the most is you're going to get adjustments on the horizontal measurements. So the chest, the waist, and the bottom are typically going to be the areas where you're going to lose the most amount of measurements to be able to create that compression fit. So on a size medium, I'm typically going for around a 17, 16.5 on the chest, a 15.5 to 16 on the waist. So I will always taper in the waist, and then towards the bottom I come out a little bit, just because you're going to need a little bit more flexibility on the hips, even if it is a compression fit. So definitely those horizontal measurements, you're going to want to be able to bring in those measurements to create that compression so that you can fit on the chest, fit on the waist, and fit on the bottom. This is typically why you see compression garments being extremely fitted, but they're not really short, right? So you can see on this specific mannequin, the measurement here for the length is really not that much different from the measurement that you see on a regular athletic cut. Of course, the fabric does stretch quite a bit, so you are really just needing to adjust the horizontal measurements here. Another thing that we really adjust is the perpendicular armhole depth, which is this measurement from the edge of the collar perpendicularly down to the base of where we start measuring out the chest measurement. The lower this measurement is, the higher up that armpit is, the more it's going to squeeze up on your chest. So typically what you guys are going to notice is that perpendicular armhole depth is going to go down as we start to increase the size. So if we go from a compression fit to an athletic cut, we may increase around 0.5 inches on that perpendicular armhole depth to get that athletic cut. Also, now we have an increases, or we have our measurements with the length of the sleeve. You'll notice here the length of the sleeve is around 11.75, but when we come to our athletic cut, it's around 12.25. So we're increasing almost 0.5. Again, with a compression cut, it also depends on the design. You're going to get a slightly shorter sleeve, you're typically going to be showing a little bit more of that bicep. If it's a pure compression garment, you may end up with a slightly lengthened sleeve. Here it comes down to your design, but I'm sort of going up proportionally in terms of how I go from like a base compression fit where you're trying to show off your muscles into something that's more oversized, almost like a pump cover. Another thing that we're going to definitely be adjusting, as you see, is going to be the cuff opening right here, which here in total is 5.5, but if you sort of compare it to our athletic cut, which is just one step above in terms of how fitted it is, 6.25. That's almost a 0.75 inch difference. That's actually a 0.75 inch difference, which is massive, basically allowing you to go from this fit right here to essentially this fit right here, which you'll notice because of the mannequins or the people wearing them, it's not that much of a difference, but that's sort of how you achieve that compression fit that fits very snugly on the muscles, that stimulates the blood flow, that makes the wearer look very athletic and provides recovery. Also, then we have the center back here. You'll see here we have a 26.5 inch center back versus the athletic cut. You typically have a 28.5, 28, depending on if it's a scallop or if it's straight bottom. So there are an increase across the board. This is very, very important to note. Now let's look at the collar. Specifically with the collar, you'll also notice an increase from the core compression fit. So the collar half width here is 7.25 from edge of collar to edge of collar versus here we have 8. So that's another 0.75 inch increase. Why? Well, this is simple. With a compression fit, you're going to have a snugger fit even around the collar. But if we notice something like the front neckline drop, so that is the distance between the back neckline and the front neckline. Here we have it at 2.5. And let's look at the athletic cut. Oh, we also have it at 2.5. Why is that? Wouldn't that scale up proportionally? Well, one thing you have to understand is even with a compression and an athletic fit, you still have to be able to get your head through the hole that creates the neckline. So in general, the hole that creates the neckline is actually dictated as a combination of the collar half width and the front neckline drop. So if that neckline drop was very, very small in a compression fit, you would not be able to get into it. So you'll notice that across the board, across all of these garments, you pretty much have a consistent front neckline drop. So this has been our compression fit. How do we scale up to an athletic cut? Well, basically, we're pretty much going to be scaling up around 1 inch to 2.5 inches for the chest, the waist, and the bottom. Compression fits are skin tight and they stretch. They need to be able to provide sufficient pressure and sufficient force on the surface of the skin in order to stimulate blood flow, in order to actually be called a compression garment. With an athletic cut, it's basically hugging the body. It's slightly and slowly and very kind of subtly touching the body versus with a compression cut, it really is digging into the body. One thing you'll notice between a compression shirt and a athletic shirt is even the fabric changes here. So here we have a cotton spandex blend, 94% cotton, 6% spandex. Here we have a polyester spandex blend, and you typically would go higher up in that spandex the more and more compression fit you wanted, because spandex gives you that shape retention. Understand that a cotton spandex would not be suitable for a compression garment. This is very, very important. You could use polyester spandex on a athletic cut. You could use it on a relaxed cut or even oversized cut. It's not ideal. Typically, you'd see cotton on those types of cuts, but it is there. So we're definitely increasing the chest. We're increasing the waist proportionally. Maybe the taper is a little bit less. Here, if you notice, the taper between the chest and the waist is almost 1.5. It's actually 1.5. Here, it's less than that. It's around like 0.875, so there's less of a taper. At the bottom, you still get that flare outwards, and the length here is 28.5, getting lengthened. It has a scallop, but it is going to be lengthened predominantly because of the fabric selection. Here, we have polyester spandex. Polyester stretches a lot more than spandex, so what you'll notice is even for something like a 26.5 inch center back, you're still getting quite a nice length on it. Versus with this one here, 28.5, because the cotton is not going to stretch as much, you're really not going to get the fabric stretched when worn, so it's going to naturally drape as it is. 28.5 for a scallop bottom is fair, nothing less than 27 or 26.5 on a straight hem for an athletic cut. The perpendicular armhole depth, which is the measurement from the tip of the collar all the way perpendicularly down to the pit of the armhole, is 9.5. So we've increased it by 0.5. Remember, the lower we go, the more room we add on the armpit. In general, what you need to understand is these measurements all work in proportion. So as you want to go from fit to fit, you can't just say, oh, I'm going to just increase the chest and I'm going to leave the perpendicular armhole depth. Not. What's going to happen is you're going to get a really odd fit on the armpit. So you typically would increase for every inch you're increasing the chest, you're increasing approximately 0.375 to 0.5 on the perpendicular armhole depth. And usually we're also lengthening the sleeve and we're increasing as well the cuff half width, because it wouldn't make sense for us to increase the chest, increase the perpendicular armhole depth, but not increase the bicep half width or the cuff half width. That also will increase proportionally depending on the garment. Here, it would not make sense for us to be at 7.5 for the cuff opening, because you would almost exceed beyond the limits of where the perpendicular armhole is. You kind of come out to here and you'd get this really weird sleeve that just kind of is drawn like this. So all of these measurements, if you notice, they do scale proportionally with each other. This is very important, and you'll see this as a trend moving forward. Next, we have our relaxed fit. So you guys understand, we're looking at our chest, our waist, our bottom, our center back length, our perpendicular armhole depth, our sleeve length, and our cuff opening, and pretty much the color is going to be somewhat consistent throughout this process. So here we have our relaxed or our regular fit. This is a boxy cut. Typically on a boxy cut, what you'll notice is the chest, the waist, and the bottom all remain consistent. And another thing to notice is these cuts here were raglan sleeves. So the shoulder or the sleeve pattern and the shoulder pattern are joined and they're combined, versus here, the sleeve and the shoulder are disjointed. They're two separate cuts. That's irrelevant here, but what I will do for my reference is I will join the number of the shoulder and the sleeve pattern so that you can sort of like compare it with what you see over here. 11.75 versus what we have here, which is 5.25 plus 7.75, which is going to be 13 in total, versus here 11.75, and then here 12.25. We're increasing by almost 0.75. Another thing to note is going to be the chest is 21.25 versus on the athletic cut, it's 19.5. So again, here we're increasing by around 2 inches, almost 2 inches, 1.75 inches, and the cut of the chest, the waist, and the bottom is remaining consistent. The center back here is slightly lengthened from what we have. Technically, if this was a straight bottom hem, it would be at 27 because we have, or 27.5. I would say typically it should be 27 for an athletic cut, versus here we have 27.5. So again, we're slightly lengthening the center back. When it comes to the perpendicular armhole depth, again, since this is a set-in sleeve, we measure the perpendicular armhole depth from the tip of the shoulder, but this one here would be, because I know that the shoulder drop, this drop right here is 1.5, so we add the shoulder drop plus the perpendicular armhole drop, and that gives you a relevant measurement to compare to this, which is measured from the tip of the collar. Here you'd get 10.5, so I'll change that for you guys so you guys see it. This is approximately 10.5, 10.5, and that should be moved up to here, just so that you know, and that should make it easy for you guys to understand what I'm referencing. I'll just delete this so that there's clear. 10.5. So we are also increasing the perpendicular armhole depth again here by almost an inch. Like I mentioned, for every 1 inch you come up on the chest measurement, you're typically coming up around 0.375 to 0.5 on the perpendicular armhole depth. Here we have almost 2 inches. So what we're doing is we're increasing by almost an inch on the perpendicular armhole depth from our athletic cut. Again, you'll notice, cool, even the cuff opening increases from 6.25 to 6.75, and the center back increases, but the collar half width doesn't increase. It's 8 and 2.5 for the relaxed cut. The main takeaways from here are going to be the boxy cut, are going to be the dropped perpendicular armhole depth, the slightly lengthened overall sleeve, and the more open cuff at the bottom. And then lastly, a great combination is going to be your oversized t-shirt. So when we compare oversized with our regular tee, what we notice is we no longer have a boxy cut. We have a sort of tapered cut towards the bottom. That's just simply because we're adding a lot more width on the chest. If we were to have the bottom be also 24 inches on the medium, you just have way too much fabric flapping around at the bottom, which would give a very not flattering look. So you typically tend to see the bottom come in a little bit. Here it's 1.5 in total, which is plenty, and still keeps that beautiful, nice oversized cut. Another thing to notice is the length here is no longer that lengthen. We're still getting at 27, 27, 27. So even between the oversized tee, the regular tee, and the athletic cut, you're pretty much getting a consistent measurement across the board. It differs a little bit depending on the design, but you're not increasing the center back that much. It's up to you and how you want to do your design specifically. Another thing to notice here is specifically when it comes to the sleeve length, this is a drop shoulder. So again, we have that separation of measurements, but we'll add them all together. We have 9 plus 7, so we have 15 in total on your sleeve length. When you compare that to the measurement of the, so you compare that over here, we have 13. And then when you compare that over here, we have 12.25. And when you compare that to the first measurement, we have 11.75. So there's always an increase in the sleeve length, leading to a longer sleeve, a more dropped, and a more slouchy overall appearance. Then with the perpendicular armhole depth, you're getting 11.5 versus 10.5. Again, that is consistent with what I mentioned so far about the increase in the chest. So this is essential. Make sure that you have that noted down. And the cuff opening half width here is increasing by 0.5 from our regular fit, which is increasing by approximately another 0.5 from our athletic cut, which is increasing by approximately 0.75 from our compression fit. I would say your compression fit's definitely no more than 5.5 on the cuff half width. Definitely keep that in mind. Right, our oversized fit, if you look at the color, again, 7.75, it can go up, it can go back up to 8, 8.5, depending on how wide you want the collar. But here, we're definitely going for something that's quite fitted, so no need to make it oversized. The drop is consistent, it's around 2.25 or 2.5, which is very similar to what we have here, 2.5, very similar to what we have here at 2.5, and very similar to what we have here at 2.5. Where you would get some sort of variation in the front neckline drop is if it's some sort of a U-shaped neckline or a scoop neckline where you are on purpose dropping that measurement. Perpendicular armhole depth is another increase of 1. The cuff opening is another increase. You'll notice as well, as the longer the sleeve gets, the underarm inseam gets longer. Here we have it at 5, here we have it at 3.25, and then here we're going to have it at approximately another 3, and then here we have it a little bit 4.75 just because of the way that the sleeve is angled. This is just something that you need to note. Typically, even the underarm will also increase as you move along. So to recap quickly, when you're working with your measurements, the main tools that you have at your fingertips are going to be the width measurements, which typically are going between 1 to 1.5 inches between your different fits. So going from compression fit all the way to an oversized fit, you're typically looking at around 6 to 7 inches of difference, which here corroborates you have exactly 7 inches of difference, which makes sense. That's around 1.5 inches per size, and anything in between, you sort of take that step one by one. I'm trying to make this as mathematical as possible for you guys, just to make it easy. You can have a screenshot here, that way you can see it. If you want to see a variety of different fits, I have them all on our website, so definitely you guys can check that out. It's at fittdesign.com. So if we check that right here, we have all of our tech pack templates that you can check out. We have kids templates, we have adult templates, a variety of different fits. All of these technical sheets that are listed on here are going to be available on our website as well. And if you guys want to create them yourself, we use Rhinoceros 3D, which is a great software. If you guys enjoyed this video, please consider smashing a massive thumbs up. It's been a while since I did a video like this, which is just a technical video that I know you can't find anywhere else on YouTube. So this is my way of sharing my unique experience, my unique knowledge, and something that has literally helped me make and thousands of brands turn them from an idea, from something that's in our customer's head, into a physical and tangible product that customers all over the world love. If you want to see other episodes like this in the future, please consider smashing a massive thumbs up. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Let me know in the comments below what other topics you want to see me cover in the future. And guys, I say this from the very bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Fit Design TV. Until next week's episode, stay awesome.